today's quick tip is just a quick look at levels. I just wanted to show you the basics of how they work. We've had a look at the histogram previously in one of the other tips, and this is really a step on from there. So I've got an image here which is being shot at night. It's very dark. Nice image, very, very nicely shot, but you can see across the bottom here, it's very difficult to see detail in here because obviously it's a nighttime shot and it's extremely dark around there. And this is where levels can come in useful. Now, levels in Photoshop you can find in two different places, and they do work slightly differently. You've got levels in the image menu here under Adjustments. And then the other place you have levels is over here on the Adjustments panel. Now, if you don't see the Adjustments panel, you can go to the Window menu and open it from there. Now, the difference between the two, when you do it from the image menu, this will be a destructive adjustment. So what I mean by a destructive adjustment is nothing will change in the layers panel. You will simply see a different image on the screen. So it's permanent adjustments that have been made to the pixels here. And that's something that's more difficult to revert later on if you do decide you want to go back and change it in the future. It makes it more difficult to do that. When you do it through an adjustment layer over here on the right-hand side, that does it as a non-destructive adjustment. And what that's going to do is put a new layer in here, an adjustment layer. So to do that, I'm going to click on Levels here. And you'll see straight away down here, we've now got a new layer appeared in here with its own layer mask. So straight away, this is an advantage because I can hide and show that if I do decide I don't like the changes I've made afterwards. I can even delete that layer if I want to. So that's a definite advantage there. And what I then want to do is work on this graph over here. Now, when you look in here, you'll see a very similar graph to the histogram that we saw. And we can look at the individual red, green, and blue channels in there because it's an RGB image, or do them all together. And what you have in the levels panel is you have this little kind of sliders across the bottom. Now, curves is a very similar thing to this, but curves gives you a lot more detail. You can adjust all the individual tones. But in here, what you adjust is the black point, the midpoint, or the white point. So I can go in here and I can grab hold of one of these and drag it along. So I'm now adjusting the white pointer here. So basically everything to the right of that is now going to turn into pure white. And as a result, I have squeezed up the midpoint, moved it across a bit. So the whole balance of the image is now shifting a little bit. So when you look at it back there, it's very dark. If I move this across, the image itself is now lighting up quite a bit. Now, I maybe don't want to go too far because I don't want to clip too much of this into white. But I can also adjust the midpoint here and bring that across a little bit. Now, what I could do if I wanted to is play with this on individual channels. So I might decide to go in here and decide that I actually want to move the midpoint for the red channel specifically and do a little bit more red in there. Or maybe even bring the blue channel across, drop that across, and it kind of brightens up these stars. And you've gone from an image which was quite dark and looked like that, which is, very nice in its own way, nothing wrong with it, but it's a different kind of look and feel. So you've now kind of made the stars pop a little bit more and some of the lighting is a little bit more exaggerated now. And that's a simple levels adjustment, which can be turned on and off. With a little eye here, you can drag it to the bin and delete it. Or if you want to edit it a little bit further, you can just double click the little adjustment icon there and it brings up the properties panel and lets you see the levels adjustment in there. And if I just update the graph a little bit, we can then look back at how this has been adjusted. This can be a nice technique for fixing issues where images have either been over or underexposed, or maybe you're given an image and you have to work with it, but it's not ideal. It's in some cases people might be working on footage that's been, or an image that's been taken from CCTV or something like that, and it's shot kind of in the dark or very bright light, and you need to correct that. So this can be a really quick, handy little tool for making those quick, basic adjustments.